Don't you think it's about time for a podcast that's more fulfilling? One that's about the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that happens when we actually come together. We got you covered. Welcome to the Deep Blue Project, where the depths of conversation meet the waves of personal experience. This is a real, raw, and unscripted show about everything from leadership lessons to self-awareness, wellness, and the latest current events. We cover it all. We have a rotating cast of guests as we share our personal stories, insights, and opinions on the issues that matter most. Plus, we have a blast while doing it. The Deep Blue Project. It's not just a podcast, it's an experience. And now your host, Chris Workman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Deep Blue Project. I am so happy to have with me on this episode Preston Moore. Preston and I have kind of got linked together on LinkedIn. He's had a TEDx podcast or TEDx episode that we're going to discuss a little bit. He has a very good tagline, which kind of attracts me to him, is turning stigma into a superpower. And we all know that, you know, my thing for this year and to be like mid last year and this year was crush the stigma thing for law enforcement, because, you know, that's something that we're always fighting. So we're going to get into some things here and some of the things Preston is doing and some of the things that probably he can give us where he can help some of us reach out and probably, you know, find ways to attack those things that are bothering us in our mental health and the things that we're dealing with in our daily lives. Preston, welcome to the Deep Blue Project, my man.
Yeah, Chris, thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your service. And I didn't know that about you. You're on a mission to what'd you say, crush the stigma. I like that. That's what's up. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So I'm going to let Preston kind of introduce himself and some of the things he's doing, because nobody can introduce themselves or talk about themselves better than themselves. So
that's right.
Tell us kind of what got you into what you're doing, and I'm interested, like you see the TEDx things, like how that kind of came about and what it is. I mean, I've got the chance to listen to it. I think it was awesome, but like kind of how you got there and what it is about for the people who don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not educated in mental health and addiction like clinically. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I didn't study it in college. I've actually been working with first responders for over 25 years. The only difference is that for some reason, Chris, it always involved handcuffs, and y'all made me sit in the back of the police car. I don't understand why they were doing that. But no, so I grew up in Texas, good parents. They did a lot of things right. They did a lot of things that we now know that aren't so good, but they taught me the value of hard work. They taught me yes sir, no sir. They taught me we don't call out sick. They taught me if it ain't yours, don't take it. But they also had a good time. They were work hard, party hard type people. So as soon as I started coming of age, I started doing a lot of the same things. I got arrested my first time DWI. I was a senior in high school. At that point, I thought it was your fault, their fault, you know, the police fault, everybody's fault but me. I didn't know about the dis-ease of addiction and the chronic and progressive nature of illness. And so I went on to get arrested. First arrest was senior year in high school. 2 years later, drug possession. Year after that, DWI. 4 months after that, a drug possession. So 4 times in 3 years. And what was confusing, Chris, was I was so responsible and productive in so many areas of my life. I had a real estate license. I showed up to work every day. I was well dressed. I looked you in the eye when I shook your hand. I told the truth. I was liked by my peers and the people in my community. But yet I kept ending up in the back of a police car going, how is this? I don't understand what is happening. And so I was forced, thanks to law enforcement and probation and a lot of people around me, I was forced into treatment with the help of a lot of counselors and coaches and therapists and sponsors and 12-step stuff. I actually got sober. My sobriety day is September 10th of 2001, the day before 9/11. And that means this September, I'll have 24 years in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. And so that's the practitioner part. In other words, I'm a practitioner of the things that I talk about. When I tell people, Chris, about the importance of men's groups or the importance of peer support in the police department or counseling and coaching or couples counseling, like I do the stuff. I've been doing it for a very long time. But what was significant was about 6 years ago. I moved from Philadelphia. I'm from Texas, lived in Philly for 8 years, moved to Columbus, Ohio, and I decided I wanted to change my career. And I thought I'd work in a treatment center because that's where my experience was. But I actually got a job at a mental health and addiction hospital. And so that's a psych hospital. So for first responders and police, this is where you take people when you know that they're not just being bad and intentionally being a criminal. You know that there's a crisis going on. They're suicidal, homicidal, hearing stuff, seeing stuff. They've said, hey, man, I don't want to wake up tomorrow. You take them to the ED, the emergency department, and they put them in a hospital like us. And so that was 6 years ago. But what was cool was that's when I learned the business of mental health and addiction. That's when I learned what the police force and our fire departments and our EMT people were going through, and the Department of Corrections, and what crisis intervention training, CIT training was, and all the things that they're doing to help our communities and work together as partners, as opposed to treating everybody like they're a criminal, right? But I learned the insurance industry. I learned the hospital industry. I learned the rehab industry. And so finally, what was interesting was finally my personal interests finally intersect with my professional interests. So finally it was, I'm interested in what I'm working in, right? And what I found, was all my experience of being a practitioner, using all the services that now I'm talking about, what was said from the police department and what was said from the hospitals and what was said from the medical establishment, what was said from the doctors and what was said from the podium in politics didn't match my experience. Right. And so that's when I learned why there are gaps, or what stigma is, and why people don't move forward with some things that they're even asking for services, but yet they're still too embarrassed, ashamed, or don't understand why they need to go into services or how to get services. And so that's when I started speaking about this stigma, prevention, awareness, that kind of stuff. And then eventually a friend of mine was like, hey, actually a friend of mine sent a link to my wife about doing a TED Talk. And she's like, absolutely not. She's an amazing speaker, but she did not want to do it. I was like, I'll do it. So from literally finding out, I was approved 2 days later. We started practicing. And I'll tell you what was interesting. If you ever get a chance to do it, Chris, it's a cool experience, but you can put me on stage and I can teach for 3 hours and it's engaging and I have fun. But when they say, Chris, you got to narrow it down to 15 minutes. Now that, my friend, is tough. That is tough. But it was a great experience. The TED Talk, it's on YouTube. It's called How Social Support Can Fight Mental Health and Addiction Stigma. How Social Support Can Fight Mental Health and Addiction Stigma. And today, I travel all over the country. I do a lot of work with first responders. I'm a regular speaker and trainer with the Columbus Police Department, Franklin County Sheriffs, which is our large county here in Central Ohio, the Ohio Department of Corrections. I go down to the training center at least once a month, probation, parole. If you've ever heard of the First Responders Bridge, it's a free weekend retreat this is good right here, Chris. Free weekend retreat, fully paid for first responders and a member of their family. And the reason I like that is when you can include the family, now we have a better shot of taking what we learned and implementing it at home, which becomes one of the biggest challenges a lot of frontline workers have, is being able to have the support at home. Not support in the sense of they love and support their spouse, but support in peer recovery support, family recovery support, counseling, coaching, all these things that they may learn in CIT, or maybe what a police chief like you is encouraging them to do, but then the spouse is kind of clueless on what is being talked about. So First Responders Bridge, all they got to do is get there, fully covered, hotel, food, the retreat, and I'm one of their speakers there as well. So anyway, man, that's what I do. That's how I got there. And And that's what I'm passionate about. How do we get people into services before they need it? Normalizing the basics, which means talking in a way that's like how you and I would talk in the street. If I was to run into you, where you live, and we were having a conversation, talking like that versus what tends to happen when you're in the industry. We have our lingo, we have this industry speak. Everybody goes, yes, 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 I get it, and then they don't do anything with it. So, anyway, that's how I ended up doing that TED Talk and becoming a traveling speaker and trainer.
That's awesome. I want to go back. I mean, there was a lot packed in there, and I think it touches on a lot of subjects that we do a lot. And I think the first thing that we kind of got tied up in is Preston sent me a message about this first responders bridge, and I was like, what's more about that? Like, I need to know more about that. But I think I want to go back to when you keyed off about some of the things that you dealt with, because it so much resonates with what I had to do, with my struggles and trying to face my own mental health and get rid of that stigma as we're talking about. Because when I got into law enforcement, I was in that group of people, who was like, suck it up, move on, don't let things bother you, push them back, drive on. He never addressed it.
That's right.
And it attacks so much of what we do. That you mentioned something earlier that I want to go back to, and I kind of want to talk further about, because it's something that's very hard to do, and it was very hard for me to do. And it's that first part that you said, that it was their fault, or this person's fault, or that's fault. And when you have to sit down and really realize you are the root of all of that. Like, you can't, we were blaming, and I did the same thing. I mean, I was blaming everybody for my marriages falling apart. I was blaming everybody for my alcohol. I was blaming everybody for the choices I was making that were not good choices. I mean, I was great working. Like you said, my work environment was awesome. Like, I can go to work and do my job and still can, as a professional, ready to go. Boom. Uniform goes on, I'm rocking it. Yeah. Uniform comes off, I'm an asshole. Like, that's right. And it was me. Yeah. And until I was able to be able to see that, as you mentioned, to say, hey, I got to look back. And I'm not saying this is a week or a month or a year. I'm talking years of stuff. This isn't just a small period of time. Years of doing that, of blaming other people. So I had 2 marriages fall apart. Why? Because of them? No, it was because of me. Yeah. It was because of what I did.
That's exactly. I mean, that's the entire proof. The only reason why I get paid to travel around and do these talks is the biggest mistake we make around mental health and addiction stigma is 2 things. Number 1, we think it's about mental health and addiction. We think it's about, and I don't even like those words, because, for example, addiction doesn't even cover the misuse. There's plenty of people out there, and heavy and first responders, military vets, people that put on the uniform and perform at a high level. And I need them to perform at a high level. They also let off steam at a high level. And they use or looking for adrenaline in other areas. And so they're also learning like what misuse looks like. For example, I was shocked to learn that if you have more than 2 drinks a night, you're a heavy drinker. If you have more than 4 drinks in one sitting, you're binging. That, where I come from, remember, work hard, party hard, show up, shake hands. We don't mess up. We pay our bills on time. We do all this stuff. But like I told my mom, I said, Mom, you're not going to believe this. More than 2 drinks a night. They call that a heavy drinker. She goes, darling, we don't even start counting until 3 or 4. And that's kind of the concept. And that's even praised in a lot of circles that I run in. And again, these are not down and out junkies, drug addicts, like that's not even what we're talking about. So learning what this stuff is, but here's a couple of things you touched on. Number 1, I am the one common denominator in every problem I've ever had. And so, for example, I used to say wrong place or wrong time. I'm very unlucky. Well, look, I know a lot of people that are respectable people. I know people that put on a uniform that had they gotten pulled over in a particular moment, that they would have popped hot and they would have been arrested. There's plenty of people that go, I've gotten behind the wheel and didn't know it. Now, some people are that probably shouldn't. And some people get arrested, but 1, okay, 2, maybe, but 4 times, like again, with your relationships. 1, okay, maybe it was the wrong person, but now we looking at the second relationship breaking down. Now you're acting like an a-hole again and again and again. Like, this isn't just kind of a one-off thing. And so what often happens is, so like I said, 2 things. Most people think mental health and addiction is about mental health and addiction. It's not. Secondly, they always think it's for someone else to hear, not for you, not for me, right? So, Chris, I know someone that needs to hear this message about peer support. Oh, I know someone that my wife needs to hear this. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to her or him. I want to talk to you. And so the way that we do that is by having people talking about it. But I like to get even off the topic of drug and alcohol misuse, addiction, and mental health, and talk about how do I handle my feelings. So, for example, when I talk to large groups of people, I call them normies and earthlings because, to be fair, if I'm in a rehab or in jail, look, that's a captive audience. They already agree with me. Let's be clear.
Right.
But when I'm talking to like police departments, fire departments, PTAs, schools, right? And I'm going in there and talking, they know mental health and addiction is a big deal. They all know someone that may or may not struggle. Most people have been affected in some way, shape, or form, but it's all them. But when I go, hey, Chris, how many people in here have ever overreacted to something? Well, that's the whole room. How many people have ever underreacted to something? That's the whole room. How many people sometimes have a hard time accurately identifying what they're feeling? In other words, am I angry? Am I sad? Am I scared? Am I happy? Am I joy? Like just identifying basic feelings and then being able to responsibly communicate them in a way that people can understand. That's the juice, Chris. That's the juice. And what you guys have, what your population has that no other people have, and I'm grouping you in kind of the first responders and even military. Military, you do your job and you're kind of done at most people unless you're long term.
Mm-hmm.
But what your population has to deal with that nobody else has to deal with is you've got to go into that stress-inducing, fear-inducing, never know what you're going to get job every single day, day in, day out, no matter what happens, you've got to perform, you've got to make good decisions. And they say, don't let it affect you at work and don't take it home with you.
Yeah.
That is
Impossible.
Bonkers, right?
It's impossible.
And here's the other thing, Chris, which I really like. Dr. Drew's one of my favorite guys to talk about addiction. And he says, he's talking about fighter pilots. He said, fighter pilots, they are narcissistic, self-absorbed a-holes. He goes, let's be clear. I want my fighter pilots and military specialists to be self-absorbed, narcissistic a-holes. I don't want them to be loving and compassionate, right? I want them to be crazy, right? And so that's the same thing when we talk about police, fire, first responders, like the ability to put on that uniform and to get out there and perform and shut those emotions down so you can make logical, thought out decisions quickly is amazing for that role. But it's difficult when you're raising young children. It's difficult when communicating with your spouse. It's challenging when they go, okay, Chris, turn it off. You're not supposed to be paranoid now. Oh, not to mention a baby just died in your arms and they say, hey, go deal with this noise violation because the old lady's complaining about her neighbor mowing the lawn. People can't fathom. They can't even fathom that. And so the solution, Chris, the solution is not, let me encourage these people suffering from PTSD to ask for help. Let me encourage people that are thinking about suicide to not do. That is not the answer. The answer is making coaching, counseling, peer support group type stuff so normal that the new guys are doing it. Right. What I mean by that is look at coaching, counseling, peer support group, outside stuff more as like life coaching, goal setting, help me be a good man, a good leader, as opposed to something's wrong and I'm a weak son of a gun and now I got to go do this thing. Because I guarantee you, Chris, I bet you got guys and gals signing up quick to go learn how to do better tactics, better shooting, better protection, better team support, whatever. You put up a training, they're signing up like crazy, right? They'll do 40 hours of training, SWAT, they'll do anything. And then they go, hey, man, I'm going to need you to spend 2 hours a month chatting with some of your peers about how to handle your feelings at home, they're going to be like, I don't have time. There's no chance in hell. No way am I doing that. But if we can get people doing it earlier, more from like a professional development, leadership, how do I be a father who has integrity and accountability at home? Meaning, if someone saw me doing this, how I act at home or how I speak to my kid, if someone saw me, I wouldn't be embarrassed and ashamed. Let's talk about that. And if we can get people doing that earlier, we don't have to wait until they got a gun in their mouth. We don't have to wait until they're on the verge of divorce, because they're not going to do it if they're waiting.
Mhm.
We got to get them in earlier. And that's why I like talking about prevention, being proactive, and trying to impress upon people, you don't have to be sick to get well. You can start now, and it's got to be a shift in culture. We got to spend as much time on our mental and emotional fitness as we would on a fitness program, working out in the gym, being a good tactician with your pistol. We need to reframe the amount of hours that it takes to learn how to be an honorable, respectable a man or woman that can handle their emotions and not fly off the handle and ruin everybody's life.
Amen. So
At
I think one of
home.
the greatest things that we're talking about now, and this is to your point, where we're getting to is what we're trying to do in law enforcement, and we're talking about that stigma, and we're trying to push that stigma away. And you call it turning your stigma into superpower. I call it crushing the stigma. Whatever it is, it's not. It's recognized. We're talking about it can't go away because it's always going to be there. It's a factor of the job. It's a factor of what you do. You can't take away the professional pressures that come on first responders. You can't. It's just the nature of it. But us
Yeah.
dealing with that in a better way is to your point. And I think us trying to get this out to people and there's many law enforcement agencies now across the nation who are making this a priority.
Yeah.
And we're starting that earlier. I think we're really starting to touch on the mental wellness, and I think sometimes, to your point, I don't think we really have a grasp on how we want to do it. I think we have an idea on how we want to do it. But our thing is to try to say it's easier for the younger people we have coming in, because if we can start that early, much like our kids and teaching them as they grow up,
Yeah.
that we have this support. So we have this person that we want you to see once every 6 months, or you have options to talk to whenever you want to, that they're getting familiar with that early, that hopefully that allows them to do just what you're talking about. And I'd like to know if you expand on what you think about that, because that kind of fits right down the lane of what you're talking about, of
Sure.
how we get those individuals, how you think that getting those individuals to, I don't want to say participate or buy in, but
Yeah.
to get them used to that at
Yeah.
an early part of their career.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. Now, the easiest thing to help people understand is to put it into context in which put in understandable examples so everyone knows what we're talking about. And there's nothing more easy or a clearer example, which is working out, right? Getting healthy. Like, everyone knows, I don't care who they are, everyone has a decent idea that if they want to lose a few pounds or get their blood work right or to start kind of on the road to getting healthy, everyone knows you got to work out probably 3 to 5 times a week, right? Everybody starts off with 20 to 30 minutes. You typically build up. You're probably going to do 45 minutes to an hour. Everyone knows you should start looking at how you're shopping and what you're eating and how to cook. And they think it'd probably be a good idea. Like, if I ask every person, would it be a good idea to hire a professional if you're new? Yes. Would it be a good idea to go to a gym or group fitness classes or have a buddy that you're accountable to? Absolutely. Is it better to hang around people that are good influences in that area or bad influence? Everyone knows. Now, if you average out the amount of time someone spends doing that, it's about 5 to 10 hours a week. If you're new, Chris, you might be like, go, and you're spending 20 hours a week because you got 50 pounds to lose and you're really bought in. But when you roll that back and you're in maintenance mode, you're doing 5 to 10 hours a week, taking care of your health, right? But yet, this is what's crazy. I understand what you're after because you're in a police department with unions and protocols, etc. But imagine all you're asking someone to do is spend 1 hour every 6 months. Now tell me something, tell me anything that someone can get good at practicing 1 hour every 6 months or 1 hour every month it is impossible. There is nothing anybody is ever good at that they could get good, even doing it 1 hour a week. It's impossible. Mental and emotional fitness is so disrespected and so misunderstood that people think they could save a marriage practicing going to see a couples counselor once or twice a month. And even if they're willing to do it, they think they're killing the game. And so that's part of the shift that we need to look at. I know it is extremely valuable when departments are requiring that, or at least asking them. The other challenge that you have that most people don't is most first responders don't really believe that it's really confidential. And they don't really believe it's too risky, Chris.
Right. That's the point.
Because if they really say something and they're really honest and they go, oh, now you got to go through the EAP. Now you got to do. Now they're like, what the heck? And if they get the wrong thing written on their medical document, they can't carry a gun no more.
Right.
And you're asking them to go talk to these people, right? You see this is the dichotomy we're in, Chris, is that everyone knows we have an issue. We're talking about it more than we ever have, but there's a gap.
Right.
And here's what I would say the solution is. Number one, I got to be a practitioner, Chris. If I'm not doing the stuff I'm asking you to do, I'm a hypocrite and ain't nobody going to leave. And there's a lot of people in leadership, Chris.
Right.
There's a lot of people in leadership that is either saying what they need to say. They may even believe it, but they don't do it because they don't got the issue.
Right. Well,
But
they think they don't have the issue.
That's exactly right. And so when I can educate a man or a woman, when I can educate staff, when I can educate leaders on how much stuff comes from our childhood and how impacted our family upraising was and why you gravitated towards being a police officer and why people end up in these industries and stay, right? And it has nothing to do with drugs and alcohol and mental health. When I can drill in there and they go, wow, shoot, I didn't really know that. They can answer every question I ask. And they're like, dang, my whole family was like that. That's crazy. So that's number one, learning that it's way deeper. It's way more than about stress, PTSD, mental health, and all that kind of stuff. But then painting the picture like, what does it look like to develop a prayer, meditation, and journaling practice? What does it look like to have a mentor or accountability partner? What does it mean to show up to a group where it's not just you and I BSing about Philadelphia sports, right? What does it mean to show up, right? What does it mean? And what does it mean to work on my marriage or work on my parenting on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, not every 6 months? When we can start to figure out what does that look like? How can I make that work? And just like anything else, Chris, think of how many people know what they need to do to be healthy. They know the answer. They may even have the desire to do it, but they still will not do it unless they're utterly desperate. That is what we still are fighting.
Right.
We're fighting it in working out. We're fighting it in eating healthy. We're fighting it on being on the phone. We're fighting it when it comes to drinking or, just because we're talking about it in a cool way and making it sound cool, we still are going to fight that the resistance that people have to doing something hard and difficult. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you in 15 minutes a day, you can really change your life. That is bullcrap. That is absolute bullcrap. It's hard. It takes a lot. And almost every single day, I don't want to do it. But let me put this into context for you, Chris. When I talk about mental and emotional fitness is so disrespected, there's not a person on the planet that would walk up to you, Chris, and go, Chris, man, you've been a police officer for 20 plus 40 years, whatever your number is, right? Why do you still go do those trainings, man? That's weird. Why do you still do it? Why are you still practicing? Why are you still teaching these guys how to, what's going on? Aren't you done with that? A religious person, you never walk up to a religious person and go, yo, Chris, why you still go to church, man? You know that book, they ain't changed that book in 2,000 years. Why are you still reading that bull crap? Hey, man, you're fit. You eat right. You go to aren't you done with that, man? You did 6 months, man. You should be done, right? But when it comes to PTSD counseling, working on your marriage, going to see a all of a sudden it's like, bro, you did 6 sessions. Ain't you done with that bullcorn? Right? So understand what we're up against.
Right.
Right? Understand it's still going to be fighting. So we have to put it into a way, into a framework with verbiage that people can understand and they can opt themselves into it instead of opt themselves out. And my point typically is the quicker we can get off of mental health and addiction and into thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and behaviors, trying to be a better man, goals, relationships, because you just point out the toughest fella out there and the toughest lady and the most hardened, stone cold person, they still want to have loving relationships. They still want to be a good husband, father, wife, a partner, teammate, right? So we've got to talk about that, not about addiction, mental health, anxiety, depression, weak stress, PTSD, and how that stuff affects you. It's too radioactive to talk like that. And that is the mistake. When y'all put on these big conferences and y'all put on these big trainings and you have someone come talk about it, about addiction, and they talk about addiction and mental health, everybody's going, oh, yeah, get out of here, because that's not me. It's got to be talked about in a different way, and that's what I do when I go around is try to shift how we talk about it. And then the last thing is, Chris, I do this work, son. I do it. I go to men's groups regularly. I go to couple stuff. I do stuff I pray, I meditate, do all this stuff, and I still lose it. I still lose it on my son. I still act out with my wife, but I've got some repair skills. I got guys that I talk to on a regular basis, right? You can't wait until you like need it or feel bad to go do it. I talk to my mentors when things are great and when things suck. I go to men's meetings when things are great and when they suck. I go do my spiritual work when things are great and they suck, because when I'm doing that stuff, when stuff starts to suck or I do struggle or the anger and the stress is getting to me, I'm already in motion. And more importantly, I can repair with my family quicker instead of waiting till 12 years down the road and my wife has had enough and she says, I'm done with you. And you go, I'm done with you too. And now we're out and we look back and go, damn, I really screwed that up.
Right. I think one of the things that we talk about, and it's refreshing. Like once I do these things, people go, well, why do you do podcasts? Why do you do what you do? Or why do you talk? I said, because for me, it's a form of therapy. It's just exactly what you're talking about for me, because I get to have these conversations and I have things come back to me and go, you know what? That's where I was. That's what I did. I waited too long. And I actually, luckily, through some reflection and through other things, I hit the bottom of the barrel, but luckily I didn't put myself underneath of it because I had that. But to your point is trying to get that thing to go, when you look at people and they go, oh, you're just crazy. You're like, this is every day. Like I'm working on this every single day and finding ways now that I have things in my life that when these issues or these things that I used to put away come up, I now can recognize them and I deal with them at that time instead of trying to push them away and them causing me problems in the future, or when I come home from work or when I'm out later. And that, I think, to your point, is something that is just right where we are. Like, how do we change that? How do we change that mindset in people early enough that you're not, where you said, you're not at the bottom, or you're not at the end of that marriage, or you're not looking down the face of a gun and going, I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore.
That's right. And here's in AA, because I'm a 12-stepper. That's where I found solution and God and all that kind of stuff. But in AA, we say 12-step and support groups aren't for those that need it. It's for those that want it. And unfortunately, most people need to be desperate to reach out. And that applies to men's groups, that applies to peer support, that applies to couples counseling, that applies to so many different things. But what if we could create a culture Because of that experience that I had, my wife and I have done couples count. We've been together 18 years. My wife and I went into couples counseling after 1 year, and it was out of desperation. But we use couples. Listen to how I talk about it. This is very important. I teach people, how do you share your experience in a responsible and productive way? In AA, we talk about breaking our anonymity. In the professional world, it's how can I share people that I'm experienced without getting too personal, right? And so every single person I meet, Chris, knows that I do. And so I'll say something like this: "Hey, Chris, nice to meet you. What do you do?" "Oh, pleased to you." "Oh, Preston, what do you do?" And then at some point I'll go, "Hey, just so you know, if you ever know someone," and this is very important to do it this way, not Chris, if you ever need it. Because what happens when you tell a guy, "Hey, man, if you ever need some PTSD counseling, holler at me," what do they do?
I need that. I'm good.
They say, "Get out of here." So I always go, I said, "Hey, Chris, I mean, I know you're a happy guy. I can tell your wife is super happy with you, man. You're a perfect dad. Hey, I already know you got it covered. But hey, if you know someone that's ever, needs some help in their marriage or struggling with mental health and addiction, me and my wife, we have a lot of experience in that area. And I just want you to know you can get my number out if you ever find someone that needs that stuff." And they go, "Cool." And I go, "Cool. Hey, let's go get some ribs, man. Let's go. What are we going to watch? Come on." But I do that to everyone. And so in practice, in real life, I always tell people, "Hey, guys, man, if you ever know it," because I do a lot of men's groups, I say, "Hey, man, if you ever know a guy that's looking to improve how he talks to his kids, or improve his relationship, or find a bigger mission and purpose because he's not sure kind of where he wants to go. I mean, I know y'all are good, but if you ever know a guy that's looking for something like that, holler at me. I do a lot of men's stuff. I'd love to connect with them." They go, "Okay, cool." And then I go, we just move on. Right? I don't say, "Hey, nice to meet you. I used to get arrested and I was suicidal and my wife wants to kill me and I was lost my crap." I don't do that because it's
Right.
too. Now, here's what happens. Most of the time they go, "Great." Often they go, "Yeah," in their mind, "I don't need that crap. That's weird." But sometimes people go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Chris, what'd you say? Hey, tell me about that." But more often than not, 6 months, a year, 3 years down the road, I get the phone call and they go, "Dude, you're the only person I know that does this stuff, man. Can you help me?" And I'll tell you, that's frustrating for me because I want to say it once and I want them to go, "Oh my God, Preston, show me the way. I'm willing." That's what I want. That's what I want them to do. That's my secret desire. But it takes forever. But they know that I do it, and I position it as couples counseling is an asset in my wife and I's relationship. Having a mentor that I call is an asset. It's actually one of the greatest things about me. When I interview in a job, I did this before I even knew what I was doing. When I graduated, I went to college late. I graduated when I was 28. I'd been sober around 7 years. And my first professional interview, suit, postgraduate, and I told him, "Hey, man, just so you know, I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means is I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any drugs. I go to support meetings and I got a mentor. And here's why you need a man like me. There are people in every single organization that's struggling in some way, shape, or form. And I'm an asset because I don't steal and I don't lie, and I mentor others. I know how to ask for help and I know how to do the right thing." That's how I interviewed. I didn't know that's what I was doing, right?
Right.
And they didn't go, "Oh, shit, we can't hire this guy." They were like, "Dude, hell yeah, man. I know Jeff and John and Sarah. They're crazy as hell. We need to get Preston and hire this guy. We need to get them together." But you see how I talk about it? It's so different. It's not, "Hey, I've been diagnosed with anxiety and I've done this and you should hire me because I'm a protected class and you can't discriminate." That nobody wants that stuff. But I can only do it. You can only do it, Chris. You can only do it if you've been through it. You're on the other side and you're talking solution. You can't be in it and be saying this stuff. You can't be in it and go, "Hey, I do what I'm doing. I'm suicidal. You should follow me and go to men's group." You can't do it because that's too messy.
Yeah.
It's got to be after, and you got to learn how to do it in a responsible and productive way. And if we can get more people talking like this, Chris, I can get more people in uniform into services earlier, not because they're weak, not because they're sick, not because they're struggling, not because they're suicidal, but because they finally see it as a proactive way to keep their marriage together and not have 3 or 4 marriages. They see it as a proactive way to not lose their stuff too hardcore, because that's a big one in your industry. Being aggressive with kids, right? We call it discipline. People can get arrested for it. It's how can I be proactive in this instead of realizing 6, 7, 8, 10 years down the road after I've been beat down and I'm salty and I no longer want to help the community. I'm just watching my back. How do I not let that drain into my personal life and screw stuff up? And then 20 years later, I'm having to apologize and say, man, I really screwed up your childhood because I wasn't taking care of myself emotionally. I'm sorry, son. That's why it's important.
Well, I look, I think we can sit here all day long and have this conversation. Preston, I'll tell you, I'm so happy that we got this opportunity to talk, and the things that you're saying definitely resonate hard with me, obviously through the things that we've been through and the group that surrounds me, and obviously the things that you see that we talk about here on the Deep Blue Project, and the things that we try to promote and on LinkedIn, and just try to reach out to others and go, hey, there is a way for you to be a better person. There is a way for you to figure this out. And I don't want Preston to give away too many of his tricks, because obviously, he's been doing this, and he's looking for to help others and to help and be a resource for law enforcement and for first responders. So I definitely would love to have you on again, Preston, at some time. I enjoyed this conversation. Again, for me, it's so uplifting, and it gives me, again, it's a therapeutic thing for me to listen to these things and hear the ideas of others and people who have been through it and how they've made their journey to where they're at now. And yours is amazing. I'm going to put the link for his TEDx into this podcast when we put it out.
There you go.
So that you can go check him out. Please reach out to him if you're looking for someone to speak. But I'm going to allow him to kind of finish off with his little thing, give you information about how you can reach him, what he's doing, what he's speaking about, where he may be or be not next, and how to get in touch with also the First Responder Bridge.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. So a couple of things, and thank you for having me, Chris. I really enjoy the conversation. It's important that people in your position are talking about this, because it's impactful when it hits close to home and leaders are doing it. I appreciate that, and thank you for your service. Couple of things. First Responders Bridge, I'm not affiliated with them. I do not make money. It is a total nonprofit. But when we're talking about first responders, I love that they involve the family. It is a free 3-day retreat. It's really like an introduction. They're introducing people to the basics: basic coaching, counseling, peer support, different mental health modalities, support groups, peer support groups, family support groups. And I love that they let you bring a friend or family member. All you have to do is get there, drive, plane, whatever. It's in a nice area in Columbus, Ohio. It's Dublin. It's a suburb. Your hotel, your food, your retreat is all covered, and it happens 4 times a year. First Responders Bridge. Mick Yinger, it's Yinger, I believe is how you say it. He's the executive director. It's free. Go, bring your family. It's wonderful. The other thing that I really like is Save a Warrior. Save a Warrior. Now that's a bit more intense. And that is more, they address for first responders and military and first responders. It's free, but it's an intensive. I've been dealing with stuff. I got some PTSD. I got some childhood stuff. I'm struggling. Save a Warrior is a free service, totally covered out here in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out. Amazing resource. Lastly, if you need a speaker, a teacher, a keynote, if you're involved with an association, if you do professional development training, I would love to come do a training around turning stigma into a superpower. Understanding what's called level of care resources. What's the difference between coaching, counseling, therapy, peer support? How do we involve the family? I do all kinds of stuff about community relationships, part of CIT. It's kind of in that umbrella, but I would love to connect with you. My website is kprestonmoore.com. That's kprestonmoore.com. My email is preston at kprestonmoore.com. It's kprestonmoore on all the socials, LinkedIn, etc. And then my TEDx podcast or my TEDx talk is called How Social Support Can Fight Mental Health and Addiction Stigma. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I honor you and would love to connect again, brother.
Yeah, thank you very much, Preston. I appreciate your time. And thank you all for listening to the Deep Blue Project. We will see you next time. And please make sure you check out the links and also check out Preston Moore. Thanks, Preston.
Nice. Thanks, brother.
You've been listening to the Deep Blue Project. As a father, husband, friend, and someone who loves to chat about anything and everything, Chris brings over 3 decades of public service experience to the table. With a background in firefighting and law enforcement, along with degrees in criminal justice and behavioral science, he's seen it all, and he's learned a thing or two along the way. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on LinkedIn and X at Deep Blue Project. Find our website at deepblueproject.com. And to reach out, send an email to deepblueproject@outlook.com. Keep keeping it real, and we'll see you next time on the Deep Blue Project.